You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javanokelo, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.
Thank you so much for joining me and my wonderful friend Chiyoma for today's episode of the Daily African Proverbs. This session is being recorded for the African Father in America podcast, which is available across all podcasting platforms. Currently, we are live streaming on YouTube, and if you're on Clubhouse, the link for the YouTube live stream is at the top of the room. And we are going to discuss a proverb from Kenya that says, "Be as familiar with observation as you are with the place you live." And every Wednesday, I'm joined by, Chiyoma, who is an amazing writer, creator, poet, and should I call you a jack of all trades?
I appreciate that.
Yeah, many people call me a jack of all trades. And I don't know if I want to say a master of none, but I think I've mastered a few things, so I'll claim that. But, it's always a privilege to be here with you, Chiyoma. I want you to just take a moment and share your perspectives on this proverb.
Okay. All right. So the proverb is, be as familiar with observation as you are with the place you live. So I'm going to say when I first read the proverb, I was like, I was a little confused. Because, it's telling us to be familiar with what I feel is to be an action. So observing as we are with a place. So there was some sort of like conflict. I was like, that's really interesting. But also is like when I look at the words like familiar and observation, so familiar, I went and looked it up. So usually familiar just kind of sounds like sort of close, but not really that close. But when you look up familiar, it actually says to be like close, intimate, to like well known for like a long time. And when you look at observation, it's like what you think it is, like watching, viewing, attention, consideration. However, when I think of like observation, like for me, observation and being familiar, it felt like it was a conflict, because for me, observation just feels like kind of just like maybe looking closely, but because of like, I don't know, I feel like our Western history of like observing and studying, I feel like the thing being looked at is always like being objectified. And I just felt like the ancestors aren't telling us to do that. So to me, this proverb was actually encouraging us to be more present with things. So it's like to be like as familiar with observation or observing as like the place you live, like the place you live, it. Like if you think in your house, right? Your house, the things in your house, where to find the things in your house. So to be that like familiar with the act of observing, I think it's really like pushing us to think of like, how are we taking things in? Because I think a lot of times, and especially like in today's society, we're just kind of like going past things a lot. Like we're barely seeing them, and a lot of times with like, just like, there's just so much in the world. Like you think of like social media, like there's just so much. So like, how much are we really taking things in? And I think the ancestors are telling us to actually take things in more. So that's how I interpret the proverb. So I interpret it as ancestors telling us to take things in more and to be more conscious of how we are going around in the world and like, taking things in. So that is my interpretation.
Wow, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I agree that observation could just be, could just be the initial work in relation to, being familiar, I really appreciate that. I do want to welcome Simply E, who is, one of the people that help us with these Wednesday sessions. Simply E helps us promote and build these Wednesday sessions. And so I want to pass it to you, Simply E. Just quickly introduce yourself and share with our audience members how they can help us grow, the village this morning.
Thank you, and Grand Rising, Simon. Peace, everybody. Welcome in. I know I enjoyed the space. This is one of my favorite spaces on Clubhouse, and it becoming one of my favorite spaces on YouTube. The Daily African Proverbs in this room within the African Father in America Club, I think is just so special because it allows itself to morph and build and move. It's an opportunity to look back, to sit in the moment, and to push forward in strength and what you've learned just by sitting in the space. And so for that to be morphing and moving in real time, I think is just a very unique thing. So I'm very pleased and happy and honored to be a part of the team and the family that's growing this space and welcoming and ushering other people in here is definitely my delight. Um, as I just mentioned, we're on YouTube, in other spaces that you might be in and more comfortable in or not. But Twitter, you could tweet out the proverbs or the room, the space on YouTube, which I'm very impressed by the YouTube channel, being able to see the faces of people at times that are featured and things like that, and being able to see Simon's face as he's giving us the gems and the other folks as well. I think it's so awesome to be across different platforms. And so I just gained so much in the space. And with me being a poet, it sort of gives me a little bit of life every day in the times that I'm in here and listening in. So I love it. I carry it in my heart. If you're in a space where you'd like to be enlightened, or you haven't been in a while, or you'd like to see what that's like, join the club. I think it's a really good space to cultivate and just for personal growth, and also for those who are watching you and coming behind you. So join the club, African Father in America. Um, Come in this space, and I'm looking forward to Chiyoma, to hearing from
Aw,
her today. I'm so excited. My goodness, my goodness.
I appreciate
Because she's also a poet as well. And so I'm just over here like I was in another space. I said, I gotta leave early, I gotta go. And so yeah, I'm just so happy. I'm smiling. And Simon, I'm always smiling in this space. Of course, it's super extra special with there being a poet being featured as well. And I'll pass the mic to you. Just know that I'm super awesomely grateful to be in this space. And also, if there's anybody who's interested in also supporting, pushing, responding, and making it known that this space is here, please contact the folks who are part of the family. And I'm definitely one of those people. I pass it back over to you this morning, Simon.
Thank you, Simply E. I truly appreciate you. And Chiyoma, you're no longer on Clubhouse, right?
Huh?
I don't
I'm on
see
Clubhouse. Oh, you don't see me on
I
here?
don't see you in the room anymore. But it's okay. It's okay.
I don't know why that happened.
The ancestors didn't want you in the room.
Hey, listen. That's okay.
Anyhow, you're still here. You're very stubborn. So, yeah, I'm truly, truly grateful. And, these first 30 minutes, we are going to deepen our conversation with Chiyoma. And one thing that I love about these Wednesday sessions of the Daily African Proverbs is that Chiyoma takes this proverb and turns it into a poem. So for those who are here early, you are going to, have the privilege of listening to it before we go a little deeper. So Chiyoma, feel free to share with us the poem now, but also in closing, I'll ask you to do it. What do you think?
Okay, I'm good. I actually have two poems.
That's even better. That's even better. So go ahead and share with us the first one. Thank you so much.
Okay, all right. I miss my little side of Southwest, that jewel of a place where if you ain't looking close enough, you'll miss it and only notice how the water rises on rainy days, how it's on the tip of everything, nearly outside of the city. You'll miss the wildlife reserve, much like I did. You'll miss the beauty of all things Africa, the mixing and blending of Africans and African Americans. You'll miss how the sun hits the streets, how the sun walks the streets. You'll miss the sound of quiet, yet only notice the sound of occasional gunshots. You'll miss the folks sitting on their porches. More especially, you'll miss their smile. You'll miss their laugh. If you ain't looking close enough, you'll see the man who's always selling watermelons every summer, but you'll never have tasted it if you ain't looking. And that's that. So it's like in the works right there, but that's one of the pieces.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it a lot. I love it a lot. Tell me about this place that you're talking about. Tell me more about it. I just want to learn a little more, and then I'll give. And I do agree that a lot of the time we focus on the bad things about places. Even if you go to Somalia, which is one of the places that is known as the most dangerous places to live, or even if you go to Kingston, Jamaica, that is known as one of the most violent cities in the world, there are some corners there that remind you of the beauty of this place, reminds you of why people are still staying there despite the challenges that the rest of us think exist in that place. So why is this place special to you?
I mean, it's just biased a bit. It's the space kind of where I grew up, like where I'm from. It's really interesting because it really is like a mixture of a place. And you really can miss a lot of things if you're really not like looking close or taking the time in. And I have to be honest that like I was someone who missed certain things at times. And it wasn't until honestly, I would say COVID and when I came back, when I was older that like I started noticing some things more, or just being just more appreciative of a lot of the things. So yeah, it's where I'm from. It's a great mixture. I think like a lot of kind of a decent amount of immigrants end up in that area. A lot usually like from Liberia and Sierra Leone, but it's a variety of Eritreans. It's a nice mix. It's just an interesting place. Sometimes, depending on what side, I guess, of Southwest you're on, you may be on the news a lot because there's not always like necessarily quote unquote great things. Like there's like can be like a lot of violence in the neighborhood. My side is like a little slightly different. It's not as bad, but it's still bad. But yeah, it's just like a very interesting like place, but also like really beautiful in my opinion. And it's weird because like I'm on another part of the city and like I miss it. Yeah. And I was like, wow, I would have never thought I would have missed it like that. So yeah. I don't know if you have any other questions or
I do. No, I have a different question. I appreciate your response. I want you to share with us a childhood story that today's proverb reminds you of,
Okay. Okay, so like what a fascinating story. But when I like saw like this question, it made me think of like there was a day back when I was in high school. I was really like upset one day. I'm pretty positive like I was upset. It was after school. And I had a tendency like when I got out of school, like never necessarily going straight home. Like, if I didn't have anywhere to go, I would probably go to like the library or like this bookstore. But I just remember that day just being like stressed and like not happy. I didn't really want to go home right away. And I decided to take a seat in the sort of like a park or like a fountain, sort of memorial fountain that wasn't far from my school. And I was like, I'm going to write. I was like, I'm going to write in this moment. But what was really interesting is that like, I decided that I wasn't necessarily going to write my feelings per se or like how the day went, but I was actually going to write about the legit moment that I was in. So when I was writing, I was like, okay, I'm sitting on this bench. I see the sky. I see the birds. I see the water. Like I was literally like taking in the moment. And I knew by the end of like that session, and by the end of doing that, like I was actually so happy. Like not only because I like it was weird because I produced such a nice piece of work that I wish I could have shared with you all, but like Facebook won't let me pull this back up because it was like years ago. But I created not only just this beautiful piece, but like I actually like in doing so, like I just was more peaceful. And I was actually just struck by like what the act of doing that, like literally just writing like where I was, like what that did for me. And like that was just a moment that like I always remember, because that's not something that I would say I do enough. And it's something I want to challenge myself as a creative to do more, is to like really sit in a place and like take in like what is going on. And I feel like it connects a lot to this proverb, because I think it's going to connect to my second poem too, but I think when we are more present in really taking things in, like we kind of like let go of this past thing, whatever other stuff we're going on with, and like we're literally in that moment. When we're really present in a moment, I feel like it like releases things. It brings us back to, I guess, center, if you would say. So yeah, that's something that I just always remember, because it just felt like a really spiritual moment for me, like writing and like being upset. I was a little teenager, but it was just like really amazing what that moment did for me. So that's what I think about with that question.
Yeah, it's passion. I think that passion was raining down on you. And you're like, I'm going to write about these birds, I'm going to write about these trees, I'm going to write about everything I see. And that's
Literally
what
everything I see.
yeah. That's what this proverb speaks about, really. You know, be as familiar with observation as you are with the place you live. If you're watching it on YouTube, if you're watching us right now on YouTube, I would love for you to subscribe to the channel. Push the thumbs up button so that next time we are live, YouTube notifies you. And also share your comment about today's conversation. Share your interpretation in the comments on YouTube so that we learn more about your own perspective. If you are joining us on Clubhouse, thank you. Please ping 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people to join us for today's conversation. Feel free to clip this conversation and share it on Twitter. And also feel free to share this conversation on other platforms as well as right here on Clubhouse. And finally, feel free to follow the African Father in America Club at the top of the room. This morning, my special guest is Chiyoma, who is an amazing writer, creator, and poet. And, she shared with us one poem earlier that, she basically created it after she received this proverb. Typically, when I host guests for the daily African proverbs, I send them the proverb a day or two before we have this conversation. And so Chiyoma, made a beautiful poem that she will share with us again towards the end of our conversation. She has another one that she will also... You want to share it now, or do you want to...
I can. It's very short.
Okay, go ahead then.
Actually, this one was one that like I've had previously that I thought connected to the proverb and also my interpretation of it. So it's very short. All right. To be present is to hear. To be present is to see. To be present is to feel. To be present is to smell. To be present is to taste. To be present is to be truthful. And that's all.
Wow. It's hard to be present, especially in these days of cell phones, and it's very hard. It's very hard. As a father of 3 girls, sometimes my daughters catch me distracted. You are together, maybe even at the dining table, and I have to respond to maybe a text message, or I have to actually create a post on Instagram. And one of my daughters is like, dad, and then she comes and sits on my lap and she's like, you are not listening. And then I'm like, yeah, that's true. So then I give them the total attention. And so your poem reminds me, that truly to be present is to be courageous too, is to be willing to be present with even the little people. Yeah, so I want you to share with us as a writer, as a storyteller and as a creator and as a poet, when we think about your career, I feel that you still have a very bright future. And of course, I want you to share with us like your dream accomplishment, because I'm one of your biggest fans, and I want to see you accomplish this dream that you're going to share with us today.
Okay, so it's actually two. So one of them is to like publish like a collection of poetry. So that's like one step dream. Which is very possible. We'll be doing that. And the next one is, so this is just something like I've had in my head. I don't know what it would look like per se, but if I could sort of create some sort of like artist or writing community that's really like inspiring, and that's like, I don't know how to describe it, because I don't know if it'd be in my house or an organization or what, but like I would just love to create this space where writers go. They're or like writers and just anyone. They go, they're empowered to express, tell their story, and they leave there with what it is that they need to go out into the world and share their works. So I think to be able to create a space like that, not sure what it would look like, but I think that would be an accomplishment. Yeah, it's so weird because like when I think of like back in the day times, like specifically like in America, like if you hear about like some of the greats, right? It's oftentimes that like they hung out with like other people, they had dinner together, they did this. Like it's so interesting. I was like, I would love to create like a space like that where it's just like community and like folks come out of there and they're just, so yeah, I think that's a dream. That would be an accomplishment right there.
Yeah, they're both very realistic, they're both very realistic and achievable. So there's probably someone in the room or someone on YouTube watching this that could contribute to you accomplishing these dreams sooner, so that you can then focus on the next dream. Because I love dreamers, because I'm always dreaming of things and trying new things and, just putting in the work and seeing my dreams come true, when I'm still able to observe and be present with those dreams. So thank you, Chiyoma. I want to welcome, the Hungry Medium, Bibi, Orina, who have joined us on stage. I have a special guest today, Chiyoma Sheri, who has shared with us 2 poems already. She has shared with us her interpretation of this proverb from Kenya. She has shared with us a story from her childhood that is related to this poem. And now I just want to invite, interpretations from you, our audience members. And then Chiyoma, I want you to prepare so that towards the end of our conversation, you can share your closing remarks as well as these 2 amazing poems that you curated for us today. So Simply I want to start with you. Please, share with us any comments to Chiyoma in regards to the 2 poems, because you're also a poet, and then any of your own perspectives on today's proverb from Kenya. And also, if there's anybody else in the audience from Kenya specifically, I would love for you to join us on stage and share your perspectives. I'm from Kenya, and this proverb, be as familiar with observation as you are with the place you live. It's not a very common Kenyan proverb, so I don't want to share my perspectives yet. I want to wait and hear what another Kenyan says before I share. But Simply I'll pass this microphone to you.
I love, love what Chiyoma had to say about being present. It's so important. I second that. It is difficult especially with all the distractions of today, with us being in the middle of a pandemic. It's just so much stuff going on, and all this the stuff that we have and carry around with us every day with technology. So I appreciate what you're saying about being present. Um,
Thank you.
with regards to the proverb, be as familiar with observation as you are with the place you live. Um, Definitely being present is important for sure. So often we don't tend to our own lawn. We're busy looking over to the left and to the right, and we've got problems at home. We've got things that we need to tend to, and some of that comes from the ego as well. We want to be seen a certain way, and so we don't take care of what we're supposed to be doing. We're more worried about what it looks like. And that's because we're from an observation standpoint, looking out. And so then we think about looking how we look to others instead of looking within. And so I really, really appreciate the proverb today for sure. That's that's my feedback on it. But I really love the way that Chiyoma put it. I love that. I love that. Um, Chiyoma, if you had to just a small question, if you had
Yes.
to just say the word within this proverb, one word that sticks out the most in the proverb, which word in the proverb would stick out the most for you?
Oh, that's a really great question. I I want to say probably familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I want to say that's the first
Yeah.
one, and then the second would be observation, but familiar, familiar.
Mm-hmm. And I guess I have to say why, right? I owe the people.
Oh, it's just such a like to be familiar with something. I don't know. It's a very common word that I feel like, especially when you like look at the definition of it, there's a lot, like there's so much weight to it. Like to be
Mm-hmm.
familiar with something is to really know something, is to take time with something, is to take things in. So yeah, I think that's kind of why it sticks out to me. I think the word itself is just an interesting word, like how it's like
Mm-hmm.
formulated as well. But yeah, it's meaning, I think it's kind of thrown I think it's thrown out a lot. But if you actually go back to like what the word means, like to be familiar with something is actually to really know something, to really get to know something. So yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for letting me pick your brain. I give the mic back to Simon.
Yeah, I love that, and I
I
agree.
appreciate that, Simply E. I kind of want to know what's your word? What sticks out to you?
The familiar as well. And that's why I was just
Okay,
shaking my head when you said that. Yeah, yeah, familiar as
okay.
well. Because when I think of familiar, also I think of not only just the word itself, but I like to break words down sometimes. And so I think about what they're related to also, right? So familiar, family, familial, and
Mhm.
so that's where I went with it as well.
I like
I'm
that.
thinking about what's related. Yeah, yeah.
I
So
think we
thank
forget
you,
that
thank you.
part, like familiar family, like we forget that part.
Hmm.
Family? Oh, okay. Thank you, Simply.
Thank you,
Yeah,
love.
you give me my poet self things to work with now. I'm like, ooh.
This is
And I
great.
pass the mic back over to Simon.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, you both made me start looking at this proverb in a very different way. And I took out all the words and just left familiar place, those two words. And, I want to leave everybody with those. Just think about those as well.
Mm,
Place stood out for me the most, but familiar place seems to be like it's like mastery, mastering the place that you're in, mastering this life. Anyway, Aurina, thank you for joining us for the Daily African Proverbs. Please share your perspectives on today's proverb. And if you have any comments to my special guest, feel free as well.
Yeah, thank you for having me. So be as familiar with observation as you are with the place you live. So this made me think of, aside from being present, like gratitudes. I feel like so often we take for granted the place we live, and and we think we know it like the back of our hand, but things are constantly changing around us. So when we enter a new place, we're observing with fresh eyes. It kind of also reminded me of how often in our society we kind of have this like escapist culture where we want to go on vacation, or we feel like leaving our environment, gives us fresh eyes, or which it can, but too often it's like running away from our problems by going somewhere new. So this kind of made me think like, okay, well, don't take for granted what you have. Practice gratitude. There's always some new route you could take home, or there's always new buildings being built, in your local downtown type of thing. So it made me think of like, familiarity with where you live, with that perspective, like being more observant. So that's just all I wanted to add is, practicing gratitude, gratefulness, being more observant, but also trying to look at it with like fresh eyes, with a different lens or perspective than you otherwise would where you are. So thank you.
You're most welcome. Thank you so much for sharing your perspectives as well. And Bibi, share with us your thoughts on today's proverb. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Simon. I am totally going to take this inner health perspective because I'm big on health when it comes to that. So what I would say is if we took so much time in trying to take care of our health as much as we take trying to look good for others or for our outer parts, the best that's what's the word, what's the translation, gosh, it completely slipped my mind. It's like all I'm trying to say is like if we take as much time to take care of our inside, our health, then we won't have to worry about illnesses as much, because I think we put so much more time looking good and also caring about other people's opinions more than we take care of ourselves. So that's my take from this. Thank you.
You're most welcome, Bibi. I love that perspective. Chiyoma, I hope you're taking notes because you'll be sharing your closing remarks with our friends here. So some of these nuggets I want you to speak to later on. But as we continue, I want to welcome my wonderful friend, the Hungry Medium. Kat, how are you? And what do you think about today's proverb?
Grand Rising, everybody. I hope everyone is well on this beautiful Wednesday morning. Thank you, Simon. I appreciate you. You're amazing. I love what you do, as you know. I decided to look at this proverb and internalize it because I really, there's that old saying, I guess you can call it a proverb. Who knows where it came from? Home is where the heart is. So I often think about us and just observing what's going on in ourselves. And I don't live in an apartment. I don't live in a house. I don't live in Philadelphia. I don't live in New York. I live in myself. I live where I am and where I go, where my heart is and where my source and soul is. That's where I live. So, when you're doing your meditations and you're talking about scanning your body, scanning your heart, observing what's going on inside of you, as opposed to what's going on inside of the world or outside in the world. So I like to think of this as an innerverse conversation that you have within yourself. Thank you.
You're most welcome. Thank you so much. I totally appreciate what you shared. It's about, understanding that, you live in your own body. That's a place too that you need to pay attention to. And scanning during meditation is something that I do, but I didn't even realize that it's called scanning. So thank you for that nugget as well. Let's hear from Fred. Fred, how are you? And what does today's proverb mean to you?
I'm pretty good. Hopefully, everyone is doing well. The Hunger Medium, that was deep. It kind of goes on the aspect of what I was about to hit. So, Simply
Build on
E,
it, brother. Build
right?
on it.
All right. So, Simply E asked the question, what, asked Simon, someone about the most impactful word in this statement. And to me, it was the word place. Place, the etymology of the word comes from space and dimensional extent. Space and dimensional extent. So when I look at the word observation, I think about observatory, where we look at the greater heavens. So when I take observation, greater heavens to space and dimensional extent, we tend to look far off and dream about things that we may want to do externally, but yet where our feet are at, it doesn't relate. So when I see this, to make it familiar to, that means to connect it to. That's how I see that. So if I dream of a certain thing, I should also take a look within myself and put myself in that place, in that dimensional extent of where I'm looking at. That which I dream, soon I will be that, or that's where I will be. A lot of us stay stuck, and yet we dream, and we don't make a move. That which I dream of, I'm gonna put action on it. I'm become familiar with it, and once I know how to get there, my feet will move. I will become that thing I'm looking at. That's how I see that connection or that phrase.
Yes, that's beautiful. Thank you so much. I want to just check in with Simply E if you have any, any thoughts for our audience members who are probably joining us for the first time. I want to just give you space for a moment because Simply E is helping every Wednesday. She's helping us with, promoting the daily African proverbs. We have a team of people in the community that are helping us build this movement. So Simply E, take a moment and then we'll continue on to Jiba.
I definitely wanted to take a moment to just say hi to the folks who are down below. I see some new faces and I also see some very familiar ones. So thank you so much for joining us and coming in here to share space with us. And I think it's beautiful to see new and old faces in the space because I think it just shows the stability of the space as well. And greetings to everybody that's on stage. I think it's just the flow is so wonderful today. Um, be sure if you're in here for the first time to join the club, African Father in America, because there's just so many gems in here. I find myself being a student in this space. So just welcome in Grand Rising and enjoy because Chiyoma's given us some nice feedback and I'm loving hearing Simon speak with her as well. This morning is just beautiful for me. I'm feeling vibes. I know you can tell I'm a little bit more wordy today. But yeah, enjoy. Sit back, relax, enjoy. And if you do have some feedback, if you don't want to come up on stage or if the time has passed for coming on stage, be sure to go onto the Instagram or on the YouTube and give your feedback there because that's just as valuable for other people to see um, how we can build and help each other to determine what this very important proverb means and proverbs to come in the future. Thank you, Simon, for the space.
You're most welcome. Thank you very much for your support. Let's hear from Jiba. What are your perspectives on today's proverb from Kenya?
Hey, Brother Simon. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Today's proverb, the way I see it, is pretty much, just being cognizant of the environment we live in, be observant of the people around you. Yes, you may be blessed with an opportunity, and you may think, it is through your hard work or whatever it is that took you to where you are. And sometimes we kind of turn to forget about the people around us. So as much as some of us, our life may be comfortable, there's those around us that stay need our help. So for me, I put that in my writing a lot, be familiar with the environment, because the only way you would understand what is going on, and if you need to lay in the hands, it would be much more easier because and you are familiar and you have been observing. So that's my interpretation. Sorry, my internet connection is really bad, so if I kind of went in and out. I'm G, but I'm done speaking.
You sounded great, my brother. Thank you so much. And for those who are meeting Jiba for the first time, he's an amazing author of multiple books. Oh, Chiyoma. Jiba is the guy I wanted you to connect with. He lives probably in the same city like you do. He's from Liberia. So, my brother Jiba, I have someone amazing to connect you with. I don't know how I'll do this, but I will do it. So you two should meet. You two should meet. You two should meet. Anyhow, let's move on to our amazing elder Zizi. Zizi, how are you doing? And what does today's proverb from Kenya mean to you? Zizi is probably a little far from her microphone. We'll just give her a moment. Zizi is an elder that is over 80, and she's held it down. Whenever I can't make it to this space, she emails me and asks, what's going on? Are you taking care of yourself? If I say I'm a little sick, she suggests a number of teas that I need to be drinking, so she's always there for me and for the Daily African Proverbs. And for that, thank you again, Zizi.
The way I see it, Simon, is that, to be familiar with observation, because sometimes we may be living in a place like I remember somebody said that there's a very nice pizza place and it's right beside you. I've been here living in that place for the last 20 years and I never saw that, although I go there many times for other things. So I think we need to be really quite cognizant of what goes on around us and observe, because, it's not only where I live in the house, but it's all around me. I think when we observe things, we can really, learn a lot and be present. I think being present, half the time we're not present in anything, either people talking to us or we're at a party, we're just, roaming around in our thoughts and we don't really see, what's going on. So I don't know. I find that this is a difficult one with the interpretation of it. But I think what they want us to do is to observe all the time, not only where we are living, but all the time be alert to good things, be alert to danger, be alert to all the things around you. So one has to have a very keen observation of things. And
I agree, Zizi. I agree completely. We need to pay attention to the places we pass by every day. We just need to be a little more aware, deepen our awareness. Thank you so much, Mala. Thank you for all your continued support with the Daily African Proverbs. And I mentioned your name, and Chiyoma has a big smile on her face. I have no idea why. So
I love Marla.
Mala is great. I hope I'll meet you one day. You're one of the people that have truly impacted how I observe kindness, and also because of you, I connected with the Hungry Medium. Thank you. I'll pass you the microphone.
Great day, everybody. It's this room. I'm just looking at Chiyoma's face right now. I could bust out into tears. Oh my goodness. You meet people over these platforms. I think Chiyoma and we were awarded a scholarship together, and we're a part of something that came out of that, and it just forged our connection. And she went on and got her certification. Whoop, whoop, whoop. So proud of her. And just to see her flourish and grow and walk into all that she is, and there's just so much more in there, and she just had a birthday, so everybody flash your mics on stage and give her some birthday love. But
I
yeah, there's
appreciate
just a
you,
common
Marla.
thread. Oh, I love you,
I
girl.
love
But just a
you.
common thread of community, right? Like the Hungry Medium, I met her on IG. I'll keep this brief. And, she is the person who brought me on the app. I remember our onboarding of Clubhouse with you, Chiyoma, and then to see
Wait,
you
you brought me
flourish
on
in
the app,
this space.
Marla?
Well, anyway, but just seeing you come and be in this room and watching you grow and seeing you take stages has been inspiring and electric, right? And when I think about all of this, how it ties into the proverb for me, it's a caution, right? Like this is a warning, right? To be at like just the wording of it. Our ancestors are asking us to heed a warning, and it made me think of the proverb from the day before, right? And so we were talking about crocodiles and being aware and observation, and I think in this like social bubble and being in this panorama that we are kind of like sometimes we are the fishbowl and sometimes we're watching the fishbowl, and the temptation can wherever your thoughts may take you or the stories and narratives that you create by what you see, the caution that we're getting in terms of be as familiar with your observation as you are with the place you live. That we all Hungry Medium always talks about the assignment that we accepted when we came here. And so to mind our own light, to tend to our own gardens, to weed our own gardens as we make observations and hopefully not judgments, of others in other situations, because we're all going through, various parts of the journey. And so, just that call to turn inward is what I take. So I've taken up enough time. There's many more people on the stage. So I yield my mic and just sending love to everyone in the room. It's a beautiful space.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Chiyoma, take notes. There's a lot for you to respond to. Excellent. Thank you again, Mala. I truly appreciate you, and I appreciate your contributions today. I see that my brother Joseph is on the phone, so we are going to go to Noel Stewart, and I won't read the other one, but I'll just welcome you to the Daily African Proverbs, and I want to pass you the microphone so that you share your perspectives on this amazing proverb from Kenya. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me and inviting me. When I look at this proverb, much like what Zizi was saying, it is a reminder for me to be present. Be as familiar with observation as you are with the place you live. And to me, it really just speaks to how being present isn't just standing still in a space of time, but really observing what's around you, what's within you, and taking note of all of it and being as comfortable and as at home as you can with your observation. My name is Noel, and I'm done speaking.
Thank you, Noel. I completely agree. I appreciate your contribution. Thank you again for being here with us today. Let's hear from Cotillion. Cotillion, thank you again for being here with us. Share with us your perspectives.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to everyone in the room, depending on where you are in the world. Thank you for allowing me to be on your stage this morning. I just wanted to, I'm going to go back to the replays because I missed it. I got the invitation to come to the stage, so I just came. So I just wanted to say thank you. And just to everyone in the room, I'll say this. This is something that was given to me a few years ago. You are loved and you are appreciated. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you so much. You are also loved and appreciated. Thank you for, taking your time to join us for today's Daily African Proverbs. And this is also to everybody who is here with us on YouTube. Thank you. Please remember to subscribe to the channel. Remember to push the thumbs up button so that whenever we go live, you are notified by YouTube. And also, leave us with your comments about today's proverb from Kenya. Be as familiar with observation as you are with the place you live. I didn't share my perspectives on this proverb, but I feel like everybody spoke for me today, Everybody spoke for me today. But I just want to say that, Before I pass it on to Chiyoma to share the 2 poems that she shared with us today and also her closing remarks, I just want to say that this proverb reminds me of land. Land is a very important resource, especially in Africa and also here in the West. Be as familiar with observation as you are with the place you live. Reminds me of how our ancestors valued passing on land to the next generation of youths. And in Africa now, this is now a story to the diasporans. Land is still cheap. Buy yourself a portion of land in Africa. It's still affordable. Connect with people that can allow you to not just be familiar with Africa by going to the beaches and to the events and visiting once in a while, but once you buy land and plant some trees, you will actually get familiar with Africa. You'll get familiar. You'll get dirty there once in a while. You'll be able to vacation there with your family and get dirty there. Even if you have a shack, you have land. Even if you just have trees, you have land. So for me, I have several pieces of land and I have a lot of trees, and over the last 10 or so years, my trees have become resources now. Even though I'm in Seattle, sometimes we have family members that want to build their own house, but they don't have timber. So I'm always asked in the family WhatsApp group, oh, so and so is building a house. Can we please cut a few trees for their house? Then I say yes, and then I smile because I say, when I was working 9 to 5 is when I was using some of the extra monies I had to buy these properties and also to plant the trees. I'm so passionate about planting trees, and I always feel, it's different when you're planting trees on somebody else's land, but if you plant it on your own land, it's something. It's like an NFT. Anyway, I'm just grateful to be here, and I want to pass it to Chiyoma. Chiyoma, share with us what you had, and then the 2 poems, and also how can people support your work?
Okay, all right. So I'm just gonna go through some of the things that stood out to me from everybody. I hope I get your name right. I do. If I don't, I apologize. So Simply E, she said, oftentimes we are looking out and not looking within. So often we don't tend to our own lawn. Simon, I actually took a note of what you originally said too. So you said familiar place, and then you said mastering the place that we're in. And then you also just talked about land and getting dirty. I just thought that was really interesting, like getting dirty, because I feel like in order to observe and really know something, you're gonna have to get dirty. So I really appreciate you saying that. Arena, I hope it's Arena, reminded us of gratitude and not taking for granted the place that we're in, reminding us to always come with a thing with fresh eyes. Hungry Medium said, home is where the heart is, observing what's within ourselves, observing what's going on inside of ourselves. Fred, I really appreciate you. Fred said, dream of a thing. I should take a look at myself and put myself in that dimensional space of the thing I'm looking at. That which I dream of, I put action on it. And I really like that. Jiba reminded us to being cognizant of our environment. Zizi also told us the proverb to her said being cognizant of what's going on around us, that it's not only what's in our house, but it's what's around us. Marla said to mind our own light, to tend to our own garden. It's a call to go within. So I just really like that. And I really like the to mind our own light. I'm like, that's beautiful. Noelle also mentioned that this proverb reminded her of being present, and just taking note of the things that are going on around us and not just standing still in a place. And Quotillion gave us a beautiful message to remind us that we are loved and that we are appreciated. And I was really grateful for that.
Hey,
So those
Chiyoma.
are the things I took away.
This is Simon Chiyoma. We missed one person. Could we hear from him briefly?
Yes.
Hey, Joseph. I know you are on a phone call when it was your moment to share, so I want to give you the space now. And feel free to talk about the travel room that we are hosting later on today.
Hi, Simon. Hi, everyone. Yeah, Simon. Actually, I came on stage just to speak about our gem, our room that we're gonna be doing tonight. But I'll take also this opportunity just to give my feedback on the proverbs of today. Uh, Today it's gonna be a wonderful day, and I have God feeling that we're gonna travel into different space. We're gonna explore Africa and its hidden gem as much as we can. While sharing the hidden gem, we must not forget that Africa is built with a very rich room for gastronomy. And African gastronomy has been considered as the first gastronomy in the entire world. The cuisine, it's
Mm.
just something exquisite. And I can't wait for tonight while we are hosting that room together with Brother Simon on the Father in America, or One Vibe Room, sorry, One Vibe Room, where we're going to be sharing the travel gem, or the travel African hidden gem. And tonight, you can be able to travel with us virtually, sitting in your own sitting room with popcorn, cool drinks. Just enjoy as we share places that we have traveled. Personally, I've traveled 32 countries, but I always end up repeating the countries that I have traveled. Simon always end up repeating Kenya, but it's because of our patience. It's because of our love that we have for travel and tourism. And we believe that traveling is a therapy. When you travel, you don't need to see a therapy, because when you sit in front of your sitting room or your couch, you can remember the adventure that happened, and it makes you just smile. Why do you need to go see a therapy when you can pay to travel and create that memory within yourself? So basically, the room is tonight. Simon, I know it's going to be late for me, but don't worry about me. I'm a soldier and I signed myself to this death. So the room is going to be a little bit late for African people, but for those in America, it's going to be 1 p.m. or 10 p.m. Uh, Simon, correct me, but I know this side is going to be almost like
It's
11
going to
o'clock.
be 1:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I think 11:30 p.m. for you in Namibia, and I think earlier maybe 8-ish in East Africa.
Yes, yes. 8-ish in West Africa, actually, 10-ish. So please, guys, join and let's travel, let's conversate, let's give each other's idea of where to travel next, which destination is waiting for African diaspora to come and explore. Investment opportunity also as we speak, because some of those countries, once you Google them, they will tell you about the openness about the investment opportunity that you can be able to come and invest. Just to get back to the today daily African proverbs, be familiar with the path that you normally take. For me, it's like I always say. Every day when I come into this room, I learn. I remember the conversation that I always have with my grandfather, where he always tell me, "Son, remember the path that you take, and remember the path that you're gonna take back home, because those are the guidance. Those are the guidelines. Do not divert yourself from those guidelines." So it teach us about morals that you should keep your morals, and you should not divert from the morals or from the understanding of your moral obligations that you have. So be truthful to yourself and remain humble, because you never know which path you're going to be taking the next thing. So basically, like I said, I'm not here for that, because I'm in the meeting and I'm just trying to catch up with these proverbs. I just wanted to share our one vibe room with Simon tonight and invite each and everybody to come in. And I can see our sister who is joining us on the platform. So please join us and be with us for tonight. I thank you.
Thank you, my brother, my brother Joseph. I actually pinned the link to the room that we are hosting at the top, and we will continue on with our conversation. Chiyoma, just before you continue, I want to give Simply E a chance. simply your closing remarks. How did we do today? Okay.
I think we did wonderfully. Um, as you know, I love to hear when people can look back and forward, and I think that's what we accomplished today. Um, had some people breaking down the words, and I asked for some people to, um, especially Chiyoma, to pick out pieces and parts. And Simon, you even jumped in there, so I'm glad that you did that. And it invited other people to do the same thing. I think we're just doing what we should do. We should be passing the word on as well, making sure that the same feels that we have in this space that other people are also being in a space that they're able to do that as well. Because what I've learned along the way is that in positive spaces, when you invite your friends and family in there, that thing just catches on. And sometimes you just never know. Sometimes people may be in a rut or in a darker space. They may need a space like this. So just remember when you're in here to also ping in people who could use a space like this or could add to it as well. I'm very happy with what we've done today with the African proverb of with the daily African proverb today. It means a lot to me, and I know it means a lot to other people as well. Thank you, Simon.
You're most welcome. Thank you very much. Chiyoma, take it away.
All right. So I'm going to close with the 2 poems I shared earlier. The first one. I miss my little side of Southwest, that jewel of a place where if you ain't looking close enough, you'll miss it and only notice how the water rises on rainy days, how it's on the tip of everything nearly outside the city. You'll miss the wildlife reserve, much like I did. You'll miss the beauty of all things Africa, the mixing and blending of Africans and African Americans. You'll miss how the sun hits the streets, how the sun walks the streets. You'll miss the sound of quiet, yet notice the sound of occasional gunfire. You'll miss the folks sitting on their porches. More especially, you'll miss their smile. You'll miss their laugh. If you ain't looking close enough, you'll see the man who's always selling watermelons every summer, but you'll never would have tasted it if you ain't looking. So that's the first one. And then the last one. To be present is to hear. To be present is to see. To be present is to feel. To be present is to smell. To be present is to taste. To be present is to be truthful. And that's all.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chiyoma. How can everyone who is watching and listening support you?
You can just support me with encouragement if you know of writing spaces or just different opportunities where I could grow and share my work. Definitely send it my way. You can follow me and just contact me at chiyoma.cherie. So the name you see here, just with a dot in the middle on IG. And I would love to just connect more. So there you go.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful. And truly, listen, Chiyoma, I truly appreciate you making the time for us to make these Wednesdays so special. Thank you. And to all our viewers, please remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please remember to leave us with your comment. And to everyone who is listening on Clubhouse, thank you. Please follow the club. And we'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow, our guest is Gogo Rutendo Ngara. She's joining us from South Africa, so you can't afford to miss that one. Thank you again, Chiyoma. Peace and love.
African father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Africa, tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. America, tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon.